From the studios in San Diego, California, this is Frank Fired Up here on the Mixed Up Sports Network, coming to you live here on this Wednesday. It is the 17th day of May, 2017. Feeling a little bit better today. That was until about a half hour ago, when a show that I watch quite often, and that is the Herd with Colin Cowherd, and we'll get to the draft lottery from last night. Eastern Conference Finals begins tonight. The Western Conference Finals ended last night. Mets embarrassed themselves again last night. The Yankees cruise, and the Mets currently, right now, are tied 4-4 in the top of the eighth inning. So go figure on that. Held a 3-2 lead, and then the seventh inning rolls around, and what happened here? Yasmani Tomas with an RBI double. So there you go. 4-4, top of the eighth right now between the Mets and the Diamondbacks as they look to avoid a seventh consecutive loss. And this is what, the second time this year that would happen. But as we get into it today, today on Fox Sports, LaVar Ball did his media tour, as it were, since the Lakers got the second pick, which is the team that LaVar wants Lonzo to go to. So he's, of course, he's puffing out his chest like, yeah, he's going to go to LA, he's going to go where I want him to go. He landed on the Herd with Colin Cowherd today, and spoke with Colin today. At one point, however, the interview went a little sideways, and this is where I went ballistic. We're going to play part of this for you. We're not going to play the whole thing. This is from today, this morning, from the Herd with Colin Cowherd. I believe we're having a little bit of audio issues here because it's not showing that it's picking up audio on the software. But he essentially went on to say, as they were talking about the shoes. Now, again, I don't know. I honestly do not know if that played or not. But they were talking about the shoes and the price of the shoe being absolutely astronomical and absolutely ridiculous. And I refuse to talk about the Big Baller brand or LaVar Ball. I'll talk about Lonzo. But that fool and his foolish brand, I refuse to talk about, even though I mean nothing. I had what, 5 viewers on my last video, so listen, I know I mean nothing. But still, I do not want to be a part of, I don't want to contribute to that idiot's success. Meanwhile, Fox, CBS, ESPN especially, have bit on this guy so hard and have given this guy millions upon millions of dollars in advertising for free, which is a disgrace. This guy deserves nothing. But anyway, they're going through the interview. They're talking about the shoes. And then Christine Leahy, who is, for those of you in New York, he is the John Minko to Colin Cowherd's Mike Frances. He is the, she is the, she's the update person. She's the news person. She's the second. Okay. She is very good, very insightful, Very, very talented. She goes to make a point about the shoe, and Lonzo, who is sitting on the couch, literally just puts his hand back behind him and says, "Stay in your lane." Excuse me? Stay in your lane. And would continue. He would not face her. He would not answer a question. At the end, he not only insulted Jason Whitlock, who used to work for ESPN, now works for Fox, but then essentially threatened Christine Leahy at the end of it, saying people like that, they get what is coming to them. And had zero remorse. If I were Colin Cowherd, once he says, "Stay in your lane," excuse me, this interview is over. We're going to commercial break. Thank you very much. I love the show. I like Cowherd. I think he's great. I think he's very insightful. But really, you are going to allow this jackass to insult your newsreader like that? Are you freaking kidding me? Forget the fact that she's a woman for a second. He attacked both of your co hosts, Whitlock and her. Her more savagely. He said about Whitlock, Whitlock doesn't shouldn't report on anything except snacks. Whitlock's a bigger guy, but no one deserves that. You have to be kidding me with this. And Fox and Colin Cowherd let it go on. It went on for a good 5 minutes. And with every insult, with every word out of that jackass's mouth, I am getting redder and redder and redder, and the smoke is coming out of my ears. Listen, when a has been like LaVar Ball, well, really when a never was like LaVar Ball, who has resurfaced living off of the media frenzy around his sons that he created because of his outlandish and stupid comments. When a person like that is telling a person who has paid her dues, his or hers, paid their dues, got a job, just trying to ask a question about the shoes. And she says to her, "Stay in your lane," and wouldn't even look at her. The classic, "excuse me, woman, men are having a conversation right now." The classic, "men are talking" frame of mind. He is an embarrassment to the human race. Scum of the earth. And this fool gets free airtime, free publicity because he's an asshole. I think we just went through this. Oh, wait, we did all last year with Donald Trump. A guy getting more attention than he deserved because he was a fool. LaVar Ball, if any of these major sporting companies, broadcasting companies, Fox, ESPN, CBS, if any of those companies had any integrity whatsoever, LaVar Ball will never be on any of their programming. Period. To let that absolute worthless POS go on like that for 15 minutes, well, for 5 minutes, was a disgrace. And for Cowherd to let it go as long as it did was wrong. If that were this show, he would have been gone. I would have cut the line right there. I wouldn't even said anything. I just said, "Oh well, we lost it. That stinks." You will never. It's the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because of what happened today. But do not expect after this. Do not expect the name LaVar Ball to come out of my mouth. Do not expect me to mention the big baller brand because that's what he wants, and every media outlet has bought in hook, line, and sinker. LaVar Ball, you know what you can do? You could take your $500 shoes, your $250 slips, and you can shove them. Every last one of them. And I guarantee you, everyone who feels the same way that I do will help you. Hell, I might even shove mine up there just to be sure everything fits. We'll be back in just a moment. So, all right, we're back. After giving myself a moment to recompose myself and redirect the topic of conversation here this afternoon or this evening, let's take a look now at the NBA draft lottery, which was last night. If you are a Knicks fan, this probably went about as disastrous as you possibly could have had it go. I said on Monday I felt as though the basement for the Knicks would have been 7. The ceiling would have been 5. They end up going number 8. So the Knicks will have the 8th draft pick in the draft this year on June 22nd. The fun, however, happens in the top 4, which I said on Monday also that if there was any justice in this world, that Boston would not get the number 1 pick and it would be Phoenix, LA, and Boston. Well, Boston ended up with the number 1 pick. The Lakers ended up with 2. Philadelphia goes from, I think it was 5 to 3, and Phoenix gets completely shafted and goes from 2 to 4. The Lakers now are more likely than not going to draft Lonzo Ball, which that's where everyone had him going anyway. This pick would have been a lot more. This would have been a lot more tense if the Lakers would have gotten number 3. If the Lakers would have gotten number 3, then the possibility of Lonzo Ball starts to really fade, because then it relies on who goes ahead of them, which, if it's Philadelphia or Phoenix, both of those teams are going to pick Lonzo Ball because Markelle Fultz, more likely than not, is going to be taken off the board with the first pick. Fultz played 25 games at Washington this year, field goal percentage of 476, a 3-point percentage of 413, averaged 6 assists, 2 steals, 1 block per game, 3.2 turnovers per game, and averaged 23.2 points per game. Lonzo Ball, on the other hand, played 36 games, so he played 11 more games, more like because of all the tournaments, most likely. Field goal percentage of 551 at a 3-point percentage of 412, 7.6 assists, 1.8 steals, 0.8 blocks, and 14.6 points. Everyone and their mother is saying that Fultz and Ball will go 1 and 2. You know Ball's going to the Lakers. That's been a given since the projections. The interesting bit with this draft now is the position that the Boston Celtics find themselves in is so unfairly win-win. Best case scenario, they trade that pick to, say, Phoenix and get Bledsoe and picks. That's scary for the Eastern Conference. Trade to Philadelphia, maybe you get a guy like Joel Embiid, first the number 1 pick, and Embiid straight up. That could be a possibility. Or you could trade it way down the draft to number 16 to Chicago. Maybe you get Jimmy Butler. Go to number 23. Maybe you get Kyle Lowry from Toronto. Go to number 18. Maybe you get Paul George from Indiana. That's best case scenario for Boston. Worst case scenario is they have the number 1 overall pick. Yeah, Prokhorov was right after that trade that sent Pierce and Garnett to Brooklyn. Yeah, the basketball gods were smiling that day. They weren't shining on Brooklyn, they were shining on Boston. As I said on Monday, those two are paying dividends for Boston long after they've gone. That's probably the best investment that Boston ever made was getting rid of those two. Absolutely unbelievable. So Boston now finds themselves in the ridiculously unfair spot of getting either Markelle Fultz or getting or trading it or trading the pick. For the Knicks at number 8, you're looking possibly at Malik Monk. Now he is projected to fall to 8. Malik Monk may not have the shooting numbers that you would have expected. Batting, field goal percentage of 450, 3-point percentage of 397, 19.8 points per game. He is a shooter. That is in 38 games. He is a shooter, and as a lot of people have said, he is probably the best shooter in the draft. And the Knicks need a shooting guard, and that is what you get out of Malik Monk. He will be the point guard. Out of Kentucky, he won the SEC Player of the Year. If I'm the Knicks, that's who I'm looking at. I'm looking at Malik Monk. To the NBA playoffs now. We've spoke of Boston so much, we'll go to the West first. The Western Conference Finals ended last night. Kawhi Leonard doesn't play because of injury, and the Spurs are losing 33 to 16 at the half. They gave up 72 first half points. The lowest point total in a single quarter for the Golden State Warriors was 30, and that was in the fourth. They won by 36. That series is over. You could talk about the Pachulia play. You could talk about Kawhi Leonard getting hurt. You knew that game one was going to be the best chance that that San Antonio had to say, listen, we're going to make this a series. And after the injury, everything went away. You're telling me that you need your best player to hold a 25-point lead. That is a problem. That is a major problem. Golden State is going to walk through the rest of that series. Period. They're going to walk right through the rest of that series. Then you go to tonight, Cleveland, Boston. Boston, you almost forget because Cleveland has been so dominant and they've been so good that Boston actually has home court advantage in this round. But honestly, if you pay attention to the game, it's not going to matter. Cleveland is too good. Boston is not there yet. They still need a piece, maybe two. Depending upon how this game goes, you could be looking at the end of the NBA until the finals. Everybody has known since Game 7 of last year's finals that it was going to be these two teams going for the third consecutive year. And I don't buy into any of this garbage of well, these three teams are so dominant. That's super teams. They're good. Now you get to watch every other team in the league try to catch up to them. There's no catching up to these two teams. There is no catching up to these two teams. The only reason why Boston got the number one seed is because LeBron took 8 games off. And you're starting to hear it. Oh, if we had LeBron, we would have won too. These players know this is not competitive. This is not. I mean, just screw the season next year. Just get to the finals, because you know it's just going to be Washington. It's going to be Cleveland and Golden State again. If this game does not entertain, do not expect this series to. Cleveland has not played a competitive game in a week and a half. And Golden State has the possibility of getting this rest because they're already 2 games up on the Eastern Conference final. The NBA season could end for a week and a half tonight. It very well could. Going to baseball now. We get to the Mets, who are currently sitting in the top of the ninth inning. 2-2 count to Michael Conforto with 2 out, runner on first. Still a tie game at 4-4. The Diamondbacks coming up in the ninth inning. Curtis Granderson just stole his first base of the year. Coming up in the ninth inning for Arizona. Uh, Scalzo made the last out, so going back to the lineup, that would mean the top of the order. Fuentes, Owings, and Goldschmidt due up for Arizona in the ninth. Lord knows who is going to pitch right now. Uh, right now, Blevins was the last one in. Gazelman's the one that gave up the home. Was the one that gave up the run. Harvey goes 5 1/3, 6 hits, 3 runs, 4 walks, 5 strikeouts. In this one, Mets right now. Who do they have in the bullpen? The Mets have Reed, Ramirez, Montero, Robles, Salas, and Seawald. My assumption will be you'll see Salas. Uh, my assumption is you'll see Salas in the ninth inning. Hansel Robles got beaten up on Monday night. I'm not going to trust Seawald, who would be coming into what his eighth or ninth game of his MLB career. Reed's been getting smacked around lately. I wouldn't trust it. So Conforto just grounded out. He's now 1 for 5 today. So you go to the bottom of the ninth. In Arizona, tied 4-4, top of the order for Arizona coming up. 3 games have gone final today. Tampa Bay has beaten Cleveland 7-4. Houston over Miami 3-0. LA over San Francisco 6-0. To last night, you have another case of the Mets not being able to hit. 4 runs on 5 hits, no errors for the Mets last night. They looked like in the first inning, they looked like they had gotten to Zach Greinke, but it was that third inning off of Tommy Malone that really did him in. The 2 RBI single by Gregor Blanco, and then the RBI single by Chris Owings following that. It was a home run game after that. Granderson in the fifth with a solo shot. Tomas in the sixth with a two-run shot, and then Rene Rivera with a two-run shot in the seventh. I'm sorry, there was a solo shot for Yasmani Tomas. Just a, I mean, the Mets have been, well, you know what the Mets have been. They've been an absolute disaster. The Yankees last night come out walking away from Kansas City, walking half a game into the lead of the American League's Eastern Division. Uh, Sabathia gives you 6 2/3 strong innings, allows just 5 hits, walks 2, strikes out 4, comes out of the game with a shutout intact. Tyler Clippard goes an inning and a third. He allows nothing, allows 1 hit and a strikeout. Holder comes in for the ninth inning, allows a run, but allows a run on 2 hits. But other than that, you just walked away from Kansas City, who right now are 16-22 on the season. You had Sanchez go 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs. Holiday went 0 for 5 with an RBI. Castro 2 for 5. 2 for 5. Judge 2 for 5. Ellsbury gets an RBI, 1 for 5. So you had a good day all around. 7 runs, 13 hits for the Yankees, en route to now a first place position for the Bombers. Going to tonight's Yankee game. You have Michael Pineda going up against Jason Vargas. Pineda coming into this game at 3-2, the 3.27 and 50 strikeouts. Vargas at 5-1 with an ERA at 1.01 and 39 strikeouts. Vargas has been just absolutely phenomenal. For the Yankees, you're going with pretty much the same lineup that you went with last night: Gardner, Sanchez, Holiday, Castro, Judge, Headley, Gregorius, Hicks, Carter. With Pineda on the mound. For the Royals, it'll be Alcides Escobar, Mike Moustakas, Lorenzo Cain, Eric Osmer, Salvador Perez, Jorge Soler, Brandon Moss, the DH, Whit Merrifield, and Alex Gordon, with Jason Vargas on the mound tonight at a quarter after 8. So bottom of the ninth for the Mets, no 4-4, nobody on, nobody out. Yankees begin in about an hour and a half from now. Tonight at 9 o'clock, you have New York City FC playing Real Salt Lake, so you have that. Beyond that, nothing much else going on in the world of sports, unless you want to watch the Stanley Cup Finals, which we completely neglected over this last show. Pittsburgh came back. They tied their series. Game 3 is tonight on NBCSN. The Ducks and the Predators, which that's just been a crazy series. Game 2 was incredible. Within the first half of the first period, the Ducks were down 2-0. Ended up winning that game 5-3. Nashville, they go home last night. Nashville wins 2-1. So Nashville leads that series by the same score, 2-1. Pittsburgh, Ottawa for Game 3 tonight. That's at 8 o'clock Eastern on NBCSN. Anaheim, Nashville tomorrow at the same time from Nashville. And then you have the NBA Eastern Conference Finals on TNT this evening at 8:30. So thank you very, very much for listening to us today. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all tomorrow.